All right, let's jump right in. Today, we are going to build something pretty amazing, an AI-powered second brain, using a pattern straight from OpenAI co-founder Andrej Karpathy. Seriously, we're going to show you how to take a boring old folder of text files and turn it into a knowledge base that actually gets smarter the more you use it.
So let's kick things off with a problem that I bet every single one of us has run into. You know that feeling, right? You're having this awesome session with an AI, you upload a bunch of documents, you're getting these incredible insights, and then you come back the next day, and poof, it's all gone. The AI has total amnesia, and you're back to square one. So frustrating.
Okay, so most AI tools you use today rely on something called RAG. That's Retrieval Augmented Generation. Basically, every time you ask a question, the AI frantically searches through your documents to find an answer. It works, for sure, but it's totally stateless. It's like it's having Groundhog Day, rediscovering the same knowledge over and over again. The Karpathy Wiki, well, that's a whole different ballgame. It builds a persistent knowledge base, one that compounds and grows. It turns your AI from a forgetful temp into a real, long-term partner.
So, what is an LLM Wiki really? When you strip it all down, it's just a folder on your computer. That's it. A folder full of plain old markdown files. But, and this is the magic part, you have an AI agent that reads, writes, and actively maintains this folder for you. It's not just a database. It's a living, breathing system that evolves every single time you add something new.
And Karpathy came up with this brilliant analogy to explain it. Think about it like this. Obsidian, or whatever viewer you use, that's your IDE, your code editor. The LLM, that's the programmer. And the wiki itself, all your notes, that's the codebase. Your job is to be the project manager. You give the high-level direction, and the AI does all the grunt work, all the tedious bookkeeping that we all hate doing.
Okay, so how do we actually build this thing? Let's get our hands dirty and set up the foundation for your wiki. And you're going to be surprised at how simple this is. But don't let that fool you. This simple architecture is exactly what makes the whole system so incredibly powerful.
First things first, you only need a couple of tools, and they're mostly free. You need what Karpathy calls an AI compiler. Now that sounds fancy, but it's really just an AI that can read and write files on your computer. Think Claude Code or Cursor. Then you need a way to look at your wiki, right? A markdown editor like Obsidian is absolutely perfect, especially because you can see all the cool connections the AI is making. And if you want, a web clipper is super handy for grabbing articles to feed your wiki.
Okay, check this out. The entire system runs on a folder structure so simple you can literally make it right now while I'm talking. Just create one main folder, you can call it My Wiki or whatever, and inside it, just two subfolders, one called Raw and one called Wiki. And believe it or not, that's it. That's your entire database.
Now, the reason for those two folders is super important. The raw folder is like your sacred archive. It's your source of truth. You drop all your original PDFs, articles, and notes in there, and you never touch them. They're immutable. The wiki folder, though, that's the LLM's playground. It's the workshop where it takes all that raw material and crafts it into beautifully interconnected, synthesized knowledge.
All right, next up, we need to give our AI some instructions. So in that main root folder, you're going to create one more file. Just call it schema.md. Think of this file as the mission brief for your AI agent. This is where you lay down the law. You tell it what topics to care about, how it should name files, what the format should be. Basically, you define what a good job looks like.
And for the last bit of setup, pop into your wiki folder. In there, you're going to create two really important files for navigation. First is index.md. This is basically a living, breathing table of contents for your whole wiki. And second, log.md. This is just a simple, running log of everything the LLM does. It's an audit trail, so you and the AI can always see what's been changed and when.
Okay, so our foundation is built. Simple, right? Now let's talk about how this thing actually works. Because this isn't some dusty old archive you set up and forget. No, this is a dynamic, living system, and it stays alive through a simple, continuous loop of actions that you get to direct.
And that whole system really boils down to this super important three-step cycle. You've got ingest, query, and lint. First, you ingest new information, letting the AI compile it into the wiki. Then, you query the wiki to pull out new insights and ideas. And finally, every once in a while, you lint it, which is basically a self-healing process to keep everything clean and organized. This loop right here is how your second brain actually learns and gets better.
So let's start with ingest, because this is where the magic really starts. All you do is drop, say, 5 to 20 related documents into that raw folder. Then you just tell your AI, hey, go read these. And it does. It reads them, pulls out all the key concepts, and then masterfully weaves all that new info into your existing wiki, building new pages and connecting them to everything else. It's amazing to watch.
Okay, now for the query step. Here's the key. When you have a question, you don't ask the AI to look at the raw files. No, you ask it to talk to the wiki. You're talking to the already synthesized knowledge. And this is where the compounding really kicks in. If the AI gives you this absolutely brilliant answer or makes a connection you never saw before, you tell it, that's awesome. File that back into the wiki as a new page. See? You're not just finding answers anymore. You are actively creating new, permanent knowledge.
Finally, we have the linting pass. This is so crucial. Think of it like a quality control check, or like having a little librarian tidy up the shelves. Every 20 pages or so, you just ask the LLM to scan the entire wiki. It goes through and looks for contradictions, it fixes broken links, it finds pages that aren't connected to anything, we call those orphans, and it just generally cleans house, making sure your knowledge base stays accurate and useful as it gets bigger.
So you might be thinking, okay, that sounds cool, but why bother? What is the real payoff here? Well, let's talk about that. Let's get into the incredible benefits of doing this, and then we'll even look at how you can put a lot of this on autopilot.
Because if you're not a fan of typing out prompts manually all the time, you're in luck. The community has already built some amazing tools for this. You can find open source skills on GitHub that give your AI pre-built commands, like a simple /wiki ingest. Or you can go even further and use no-code platforms like MindStudio to automate the entire process. I'm talking, you clip an article online and it just magically appears fully processed in your wiki. When you step back, the benefits are just so clear and powerful. Number one, you own your data. It's all sitting right there on your computer in plain, human-readable markdown files. Number two, your knowledge base isn't static. It actually compounds. It gets smarter and more valuable the more you use it. And number three, there's zero vendor lock-in, no weird proprietary formats. This whole system is totally future-proof.
And if you're wondering, yeah, but does it scale? Just look at this. Karpathy mentioned that his own personal wiki grew to around 400,000 words. That's a huge amount of text, and his AI agent could still navigate it all no problem. In fact, at that scale, he found it was often faster and more accurate than a standard RAG system because it wasn't just searching, it was working from a place of deep, synthesized understanding.
So look, the big takeaway here is that this isn't just another productivity hack or a new app. It's a totally new way of thinking about how we collaborate with AI. It's about turning it into a true partner, one that learns with you and for you. Which really just leaves us with one final exciting question. Now that you have the blueprint, what's the very first thing you're going to teach your new second brain?